What's going on, guys? Welcome back to your third stimulus check update, stimulus package update, and news report for Thursday, March 11th. So the House passed the Senate's version of the $1.9 trillion stimulus package yesterday afternoon. That is the good thing. However, now that this bill has passed, we are starting to get reports of what was actually in the bill, what we missed, what we didn't realize was included, and what was actually left out. The bad news is that there are some things that have been left out, and these were things that we did not expect to happen, but they did. So here's what we know. When many experts were predicting that this was going to be a very difficult bill to pass, they were not really underestimating that. This was going to be an extremely difficult bill to pass as it was previously written, and it's because of the Senate's reconciliation process. That's where all these changes are starting to come out. This is one of the reasons why the $15 federal minimum wage increase had to be cut. This is one of the reasons why the child tax credits might not be paid out monthly, but instead periodically. And this is also one of the reasons why right now we are hearing new reports of these stimulus checks could potentially be garnished by creditors. So here's what we know. Right now, things have changed in this bill because of the reconciliation process. Under the Senate's budget reconciliation process, everything in the bill has to affect the federal budget. If it doesn't in any way, it gets taken out. And so that was what happened, and that was one of the reasons why the Senate's version of the bill, even after it passed, it still took a couple days to get it to the House in its final form because they had to strip certain provisions out of this bill. Well, here's what we now know. Yesterday I mentioned that the $1,400 stimulus checks would not be garnished by any debt collector. However, that is not the case. That information was wrong. So first off, just want to say I'm sorry for giving you false hope, but that was the information that we were provided. Was this stimulus check, in its original form, would not be garnished in any way. However, that is not the case because the Senate's rules under a reconciliation process don't allow for this to be included in this bill because it doesn't affect the federal budget. That is a big issue. And now they're saying that this provision had to be stripped at the last minute or else the bill would not have been able to go from the Senate to the House. That is a huge issue because what happened in the first stimulus check, the $1,200 round, well, as we know, many people lost their stimulus checks because they were garnished. And this was garnished by just debt collectors, the IRS. This was garnished by states to pay for child support and spousal support. And what we know from the $600 stimulus check is there was a provision within the bill that stated, no, you could not garnish these COVID relief payments. We do know some states have actually made some adjustments, put in some laws to protect the American people from getting their stimulus checks garnished. But a lot of those states that previously did this, that provision or that law has already expired. I know for Washington State, where I live, when we received the payments back in April, the provision, I believe, went into May. So it only had 1 month where you could not garnish a COVID relief payment. Well, since then, that has actually expired. So what does this mean right now? This means that for any of those people out there that have debts in collection, that owe money to the IRS, that owe money to unemployment benefits or maybe child support, spousal support, it means that unless Congress can quickly act and get a standalone bill passed that would force or that would prevent these stimulus checks from being garnished, they could potentially be taken in the next couple of weeks. Banks might be forced to, at this point, adhere to the garnishments that they receive. So if that's the case, yes, you could lose your stimulus check. Now, we do know that Senator Ron Wyden from Oregon is trying to introduce legislation. He was hoping to do that this week. I don't know if it's possible to do it this week, but he wanted to do legislation this week to introduce legislation to shield stimulus checks from being garnished by private debt collectors. this legislation wouldn't block states from taking child support, spousal support, or providing for overpayment of unemployment benefits, but it would block private party debt collectors. So that's kind of what we're hearing right now. What we do know is that, again, some states passed this law to prevent private party debt collectors from taking your stimulus check or COVID relief payments. And I believe this also includes any unemployment benefits as well, because that is technically part of this COVID relief, but because you are getting a boost. We do not know if you can lose or get your child tax credit garnished once you start to receive that as well. So once we get more information there, I promise I'll let you know exactly what's happening on that front. Now, according to a few reports this morning, Republicans will most likely not vote in favor of a new bill that doesn't or that blocks garnishments from happening, simply because they're very upset right now with Democrats for going forward with this bill in pretty much leaving them out of all talks. And so right now what we know is the garnishments could possibly take place. And some other very important information that we're starting to get more information on, the child tax credit of $3,000 for a child between 6 and 17, or $3,600 for a child between 0 and 5. What we do know is this doesn't apply to 2020 taxes. I know a lot of people were very confused by this. Why, if we are still filing 2020 taxes, why couldn't they have just made this start now? Well, the reason why is because this is supposed to be in advance. This is going to start next year in 2021, or for tax year 2021, which means that's this full year, but we could potentially get an advance, possibly in July. If this happens, the advance that we get in July, again, this was part of the Senate reconciliation process, or their rules, is we might not get a monthly payment because that doesn't affect the federal budget, but we could get periodic payments, which means it could come monthly, could come every 2 months, every 3 months, and all this will come down to the Biden administration, and it will be at their discretion. Most likely it will be monthly payments. Unless it's too difficult, then we would most likely see payments every 2 or every 3 months. We also know that the earned income tax credit, or earned income credit of $1,500, doesn't begin in 2020 either. This is a credit that will be applied to 2021's income, not for 2020. Meaning you won't see any of this until you apply for you file your taxes in 2022. So I know a lot of people were a little bit upset by this, filing their taxes, saying, "Hey, I didn't get the $1,500 earned income credit." Well, it's because it doesn't apply yet. And honestly, if you are already filing your taxes, this bill that we are currently discussing hasn't actually been passed, or has actually been signed into law by President Biden. This is going to happen on Friday afternoon in the White House. So, just to give you an idea, right now we are still another day away. But yes, this has been passed by the Senate, it's been passed by the House. Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer both signed this yesterday. They did a whole thing. You can go and watch on YouTube, watch on Twitter, Facebook, wherever you want to. Not really exciting, but they do talk about it, and how, yes, Senator Schumer says help is on the way. He says it multiple times. It is on the way. Some stuff will come sooner rather than later, but other things you may never see. The fact that we're in the middle of a tax filing season is also causing a lot of issues, and it's becoming very difficult for many people. But this is also one of the reasons why senior Democrats and some Republicans also are urging the IRS to extend the filing deadline past April 15th, possibly even to July 15th. This is what happened last year. It actually got extended twice, and I believe the last chance to file was in, I think, like October, November. I don't know the exact date. But they say that with all the changes that are currently happening, including the income tax waiver for unemployment income for 2020, this is causing a lot of confusion among the American people. They are wondering why. Why do they have to pay for, or why do they not get their income tax back, their income tax payments that they were making, right? Why do they not get those back when this is already in the bill? Well, the reason why they're not getting it back, if you're already filing your taxes for 2020, is because this bill hasn't been signed into law. And then even once this is signed into law, let's say tomorrow afternoon, you go and file, let's say tomorrow evening, there's still not going to be any, any rules. There's still not going to be anything in the tax code for this because it hasn't been signed into law yet. It's going to take a little bit of time. So until, let's say, you file in the next maybe couple weeks, you're probably not going to see anything different. And that's going to be the issue, is the next couple of weeks, we might see the tax filings just completely drop because people that did receive any unemployment income that make less than $150,000, they are going to get some of their money back. So they will most likely wait until there's more clarifications there. And speaking of unemployment, your $300 per week boost should not lapse. According to many states, we should be able to go right into the next payment or next cycle, which is going to be for, I believe, 21 weeks. It will go from March 15th all the way until September 6th. Being that President Biden is going to sign this into law tomorrow afternoon, we will most likely see there's no issues because it's going to be signed into law one day before the expiration. That's good news. We are already starting to see signs of the economy turning around, but having this weekly income boost does make it much easier to provide for yourself and your family in a difficult time. What we know based on the reports out this morning is that the new jobless claims report did come out this morning. It reported that 712,000 people filed for unemployment benefits for the first time last week alone. And that is actually down from the estimate of 750,000, which is pretty good. It's also showing that 70% of the jobs that came back that were added in February were in the leisure and hospitality sector. And with around 7 million people currently out of work in that sector, they are saying that this return should greatly reduce our unemployment numbers. And this return is because states are starting to open up. Some experts predict that with the states beginning to open back up, and with more people getting the vaccine, and with warmer weather just around the corner, that jobs are going to come back a lot sooner rather than later. And this is better news than was previously expected. So everything right now seems like it is starting to get back to normal. Now, hopefully we get more updates from Congress as to how all this stimulus is going to be distributed. What we do know is, yes, the stimulus checks will be coming. We could see them later on next week or possibly the week after. We know unemployment benefits should not stop at all. They will most likely roll right into the next cycle, but we are still waiting on more information on the child tax credits. We don't know what we should expect. Do we have to fill out any information? Do we have to go and file something? Do we need to, update our income every month? What do we do? How do we do it? Do we get a monthly payment, or should we wait until 2022 to get this actual child tax credit? Right now, there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of stuff going on. But as always, as I know more, I promise I will share more. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your day. Consider subscribing so I can continue to keep you updated on everything that's going on. And I'll see you guys on the next one.